Hello everyone, welcome back to Pommyinoz. I hope we're all doing really well. We're just about to enter the end of Lockdown 5.0. Will Dan Andrews keep this movie series really going much longer? We just don't know. But we are back again with a preview and it's Carlton versus the Saints. So if you are new around here, please drop a like, please drop a subscribe. We're absolutely smashing the subs at the moment, so it means the world to me. It really does. I've changed the intro up as well because I'm becoming a bit of a parody. And obviously we always look forward to Carlton games, don't we? We're a Friday night, the bright lights. It's all set up, isn't it? We're going to either have an early ruined weekend or an early start to a good weekend. And the Saints pose a really interesting proposition for Carlton. A bit like Carlton, probably had really high hopes going into the season. They've had a bit of a blip. They've had their own issues with injuries as well. And they're coming up against a Carlton side that was decimated at the weekend, really tactically. Now, this is something that St Kilda have really done. They've really adapted their tactics throughout the year. Well, they've rolled with the punches. They are still a final shout. And if you look at Carlton and St Kilda, really just on the aesthetic of numbers, there isn't a large difference between us. The two key takeouts though are tackles and their ability to create handball chains. They are a lot more sufficient in them avenues. And it's kind of the way Ratton plays and something that we've seen in the last couple of weeks from Ratton, particularly recently as they really start to probably have been a bit unlucky in the last two games, but they have started to play a lot better football, is they're really, really working hard. They really work hard off the ball. They play a really high press. It's a real energetic game plan and it's a real pressure-based game plan. They're one of the top sides in the competition, they are. Tackles inside the forward half, particularly when you look at tackles inside 50. They are the second best side. They really base that on their ability to peg you back and lock it in. And what Carlton are going to really have to do here is really look at their good ball users. You want your ball in your hand of your good ball users. And for Carlton, predominantly that is in the back line. You want to be looking at teams that have had success against the Saints this year, particularly when you look at the Richmond model. And against Brisbane, you look at the Brisbane model particularly, they really got pulled apart by the Saints. And Saints like to build from the back. They like to really look for that penetrating ball. Once that's on, the game plan is real high. It's tough because you are really chasing shadows once you turn the ball over. They really work the wings really hard. And we'll look at this little interesting little pom start here for this weekend. You can see it's a real good spread, but they really do like to go down that left-hand side. And that's where, your Butler floats. That's where your Brad Hill floats. They look to really enter that side. And you can see it's a low percentage of disposals that are actually marked. They move the ball quickly. The game plan is quite simple with them. They look to get the ball out wide. It's a modern-day game style. It's how the game, in my opinion, should be played. It's a high-risk, high-reward. They attack that left-hand side and they look to enter, and then they lock it in. They're a top side from stoppage clearances. If you get stoppages around the ground, they really look to pressure that area, and it's hit the ball hard, hit the ball at pace, and go. And it's a spread game style. Now that spells disaster for Carlton, because Teague is very similar in he likes to have his side play forward. And it's interesting, when the wheels have fallen off for St Kilda, you see what you saw against Carlton. There is a great distance between your forward and your midfield line and your back line, and you create exposed areas of the ground in the corridor and in the wing that they can attack, and they look to attack that at pace. They play in twos, they work in twos with them handballs. It draws the man near the ball carrier, easy handball over the top. They look to penetrate the zonal system. And that is going to be where Carlton are going to have to be really regimented. The forwards have to be on point here. It's not so much about having tall forwards because they don't really affect your defensive structure. Where this comes a cropper, and you saw it last week, when Cripps is playing full forward and he's more bothered about showing he's a bigger, tougher guy than the fullback, and you're not leading for the ball, you create avenues of opportunity for defenders, particularly interceptors, to come in and ping that ball inside 50, and then it's game on. And if Carlton's forward line aren't holding them tackles and you break into the midfield, it's game over. Now, this is a thing that the Saints are very proficient from. Their game plan, their lifeblood, is creating them intercepting opportunities. And it's really going to come down to whose game style is going to make the most tackles in that forward 50, particularly when you're going to have moments against Saints. They give it up. They give them inside 50 oppos up. It's about maximising it. If you don't take your chances with the St Kilda team, they are going to run riot. And you can see that what St Kilda are really proficient at is they really do have a good defensive game style. They average 10 against. And what they do in their defensive game style is they really are proficient at looking for that handball overlap, giving the ball to players like Hunter Clark and co, who can really penetrate that half-back line, that forward line, and really get into open traffic. They really do set up well behind the ball, genuinely. And they're a tough team to break down. The thing with Saints, though, is you get them opportunities. You get them opportunities inside 50. And you've got to really out-pressure them. They draw you into a game style. They rotate their rooks well. They play one of them ruckmen predominantly behind the ball. And it allows them to really have a good little spread. And if you let them get it out and you let them control the footy because they like having the footy, they're a side that really enjoys kind of, in a way, holding the ball. They conceded the ball a lot, but when they've got it, they like to spread. They like to move you around. It's a really interesting game style, and it's a game style that really is played at pace. It's played at level 5 all the time. They don't have a gear 1. And that is probably their weakness because they're always looking to pressure and they're always going to be high up. So that's where Carlton are going to be really looking to not kick long, because if we play that long kick style, game over. St Kilda will kill you. You've got to lower your eyes, look for the short kicks, and look to know that they're going to pressure you. You've got to try and break their lines. They play a very line-based system. It's high pressure, high intensity. That is where I think in this game, looking at the guys that are coming in, Saad is going to be key to this. Saad is going to be really the go-to man to look to penetrate that space, get the ball from Wheater in, and look to go hard. You're looking at Fisher and co to really drop deep, give options. You want to overload the midfield. If you don't overload the midfield and you allow these long kicks in, game over. You've got to look to really drop. So I want to see them half-forward flankers kind of play the old 90s soccer method of the half-back flank overlaps. They drop deep. Give the short options. You've got to control the footy against this side and you've got to maximise your chances. So you've got to look for pinpoint football. You can't go into this game with a devil-may care attitude. You've got to smart your way out. It's a really tough game, and St Kilda are playing for a lot. Carlton, really, what we've got to play for is kind of gone, but what we are looking to play for is a bit of pride, a bit of element. This game is winnable, and Charlie Curnow coming back, which is what everyone's talking about, it's going to be interesting because he drops deep for the ball. He looks to be a conduit for all things good. Now, whether he can do that first game back in 2 years is anyone's guess, but he's going to be integral because he can bring players deep and create pockets and outlets of space behind him. That is really key. It's all about creating pockets because they're looking to take it away. And once they get going, you're chasing shadows. And when you play chasing shadows with Saints, they'll kill you. But they always do leave that door open. And the way you do that is you've got to match their pressure. You've got to be up for the fight because St Kilda are like Ratton as a player. They're up for the fight. It's a very tough game. They're a very, very good side. I expect to see Saints really bring in Higgins, Marshall, Highmore and Clark. Highmore and Clark are going to be integral to this. It's going to be the battle of the halfbacks, the guys who can break lines, really penetrate and look for pockets of space. But this is going to be a huge test to Teague's system because what we're weak at, creating that distance, that separation. And separation in football is everything. Max King will create separation. Everyone in this side creates separation and they're going to look to attack that right half-back flank, the left side as they're attacking, really hard, and that's where Carlton are going to have to really rely on being brave in the intercept, and really when this ball hits the deck, it's mopped up and it is attacked. That is the time that they're most vulnerable, but also most dangerous. It's going to be a really entertaining game. Please join me on Blue Abroad. I'll be with Cardman 2022. He's a top bloke, really famous AFL YouTuber. I'm looking forward to having his company. Please join me. Pom out.